Mhm. Mm.
Do I need my camera on?
Are you a victim? How are you related to the case? You don't have to have it on at this time. If the judge would like to hear from you, then yes, you will have to turn it on at that particular time.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I didn't know.
Okay. You don't have to have it on right this moment. However, if you would like to say something in court and you would like to speak with the judge will ask you to turn your camera on.
Oh, okay.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are going to begin with our misdemeanor calendar with the State Court of Fulton County. This is a calendar which we call the expedited accusation cases, in which individuals were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon thereafter, the cases were formally accused, and that's why these cases are now with the State Court of Fulton County. This would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judge soon after the arrest. So please keep this information in mind. First of all, if you are the individual charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses, you do have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, then we will appoint a public defense attorney to represent you. With regards to certain cases, we would have to appoint an attorney from our conflict defense list, especially if you are a co-defendant or a cross-defendant, or if you're a defendant in which the public defender's office is unable to represent you because of a conflict. In that case, we will appoint a conflict defense attorney. And if one is not available today, then we will proceed. But you would need to be appointed with a conflict defense attorney for all future court appearances. All right. Let me see. When I call your case, I'll let you know what is your new case number, what are the charges brought against you, who is your counsel, to set a bond if one has not been previously set, and also to give you a court date if that's required. Ms. Bridgewater, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. The SAP reset date is going to be August the 10th.
All right, thank you. All right, that date, August the 10th, is our next court date for these cases. Most of these cases are all handled via Zoom. So there will not be an in-person proceeding. So if you have a criminal case today and then you are subsequently released on bond, or if you're a witness or a family member or an interested person in the case and you want to show up at the next court date, this is my advance notice to you. Do not show up at the courthouse in person. You can go to the clerk's office to get the Zoom link for the August 10th, 2023 proceeding. All right. We do not hold in-person hearings for the next court date, which is August 10th. On that note, I have a few individuals who are appearing via Zoom. I don't know if they are victims or witnesses and so forth. So I'm going to call you out right now because, number one, you are in court and you should not be lying down.
I've been shot. Sorry.
Honor, I'm in medical right now with position.
Okay, that's an exception. Understood. So we can keep it that way. The other thing is, if you are on Zoom and you're waiting for your case or your friend's case or your relative's case to be called, please switch off your video until it's your case, because when you are walking around and moving around, it really disrupts the proceedings. Okay, it becomes very distracting. So this person on iPhone, please switch off your video until we are ready to address your case. All right, let's deal with the court iPhone case first. Who is that?
This is position 13, Mr. Outlaw.
Okay. All right, this is Mr. Durante Outlaw Sr., accused of battery, family violence, cruelty in third degree, and theft by taking from April 16th, 2023. Mr. Outlaw, these are the three charges that have been brought against you. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Maxwell. Ms. Maxwell, have you had a chance to confer with Mr. Outlaw?
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
All right. So, Mr. Howard, I noticed that this is his 15th arrest cycle. Anything to add?
Last arrest was 2021 probation. We got open ag assaults, possession of a weapon during the commission of a crime, ag battery out of Clayton County. 2019 simple battery against law enforcement obstruction conviction. 2018 criminal attempt to commit a felony that was amended from a capital offense.
All right,
Can't you read?
that's good. Thank you. Mr. Pallone, are you the prosecutor in this matter?
I am, Judge.
All right, sir. What is the state's recommendation on bond for these three charges?
Yes, Judge. The state's recommendation for bond is $6,000 surety bond. That would be $4,000 on count 1 and $1,000 on count 2 and count 3. No further contact with the victim, Miss Tatiana Johnson. Stay away from the incident address.
Okay. And Ms. Maxwell, what's the state's position? What's the defense position on the bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Currently, as you can see, Mr. Outlaw is in medical recovering from an injury. We'd ask for a signature bond as he is going to need to continue medical care once he's released.
All right. Given Mr. Outlaw's recent spats with the law and his open cases, I'm going to go with the state's recommendation. On the battery is $4,000. The cruelty and the theft by taking are $1,000 each. That's the $6,000 surety bond. No contact with Tatiana Johnson. And I'm so sorry, Mr. Pallone, I do not have the incident. Look, I didn't write it down, tell you the truth.
Sorry, do you have it, Judge? I didn't hear that last bit.
I didn't write down the incident date the incident location when I was reading it, so
I have it as 3540 North Camp Creek Parkway.
That's what I have, Ms. Holly.
okay, so that's his current address. So he'll have to stay away from that location. When he makes bond, he is allowed a one-time visit with law enforcement to retrieve his personal belongings. But after that, he will need to update the court within 30 days of being released of his new address. His next court date is going to be August 10th at 9 a.m. Thank you. All right, medical, do we have another case there? No? Okay.
No, the next is going to be on 3 South, the medical department on 3 South. I'm on my way there now.
Okay, sir. We'll be in courtroom 2 while you're doing that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have for the seat?
Position number 9. Yeah, he's here with a private attorney.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have Mr. Morris Bernard Farrell, accused of battery, domestic violence, cruelty in the 3rd degree, actually 2 counts of cruelty in 3rd degree from a July 27th, 2023 incident. Mr. Farrell, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. And counsel, may I have your name, please?
Yes, Your Honor. My name is Ekib Ikure. That's spelled E-K-I-B, and last name E-K-U-R-E.
E-K-U-R-E.
ma'am.
Okay. And Mr. Farrell, we're first going to hear your GCIC, and then we will address the issue of bond. So I understand this is his 3rd arrest.
Correct. Last arrest I got was 04, disorderly conduct, theft, resisting an officer out of Florida.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Wolf, are you the assigned prosecutor for this? Oh, Ms. Bickerstaff. Okay, Ms.
Yes,
Bickerstaff.
Ms. Bickerstaff. Good afternoon, Judge Lau. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Just briefly, this incident occurred yesterday at 3227 Forest Hills Drive. And this is where Ms. Terry Smith advised officers that she was trying to calm the defendant. So she pushed them into an office in their house. And after she did that, the defendant hit her so hard she fell. Smith told officers she couldn't recall if the defendant hit her with a closed fist or if he hit her with his hand, but she knows that he hit her so hard that she fell. Officers noted that she was bleeding from her ear from the hit. Miss Smith's father had to come in the office to separate the defendant and Miss Smith. Officers also noted that Ms. Smith sustained a scratch on her cheek, swelling, and redness around her ear. They also noted dried blood to her ear from the incident, Your Honor. Additionally, the defendant told officers that Miss Smith and him were arguing over her kids being disorderly, and he wanted them and her family to leave the house. And he said that he went into the office to separate, and that's when Miss Smith came in the room or came in the office and started beating him and making threats at him. Your Honor, while all of this was going on, minors TT and JG heard the altercation between Miss Smith and the defendant. So for all of these reasons, the state's recommendation is a $5,000 surety bond, $3,000 for the battery family violence charge, $1,000 for the remaining 2 charges. We're also asking for a 1-day anger awareness course, no further contact with Miss Terry Smith, and to stay away from 3227 Forest Hills Drive, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Mr. Curry?
Yes, Your Honor. In regards to bond factors, Your Honor, can you hear me okay, Judge?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. So Mr. Farrell is 45 years old. Based on his criminal history that the court has stated, he has little to no criminal history. He's originally from Florida, but he has been here in Georgia for the past 6 years, residing with Ms. Smith and her 2 children. He is self-employed. He has 2 businesses. He does have a college degree from Florida in A&M in criminal justice and spent 5.5 years in the Navy, where he was deployed to Japan and Puerto Rico, respectively. He's currently not on probation, nor on parole, nor has any pending cases. He does suffer from diabetes and high blood pressure and anxiety as well. Your Honor, at this time, based on his lack of extensive criminal history, and also listening to the facts as stated by the state, it seems that there is a self-defense argument here. I believe the state mentioned that even Ms. Smith stated that she pushed him into a room trying to close the door and keep him in there. Also, Ms. Smith is the one who contacted our office, Your Honor. I believe she does want contact with Mr. Farrell. So we would be asking, we'd really be asking for a signature bond, but if Your Honor is not inclined to set a signature bond, we're asking for a bond no more than $2,000 with a $200 cash option and a no violent contact with Ms. Smith.
All right, is Ms. Smith on the Zoom or is she?
When I spoke with her before coming in here, Your Honor, she stated that she was going to be coming to court, but unfortunately, I don't have my phone with me here to follow up on that. But she did tell me this morning that she would be coming.
Your Honor, our office wasn't able to speak to Ms. Smith. I don't believe she's on the Zoom, but I'd like to sound for her.
All right, Terry Smith? No. And Ms. Bickerstaff or Mr. Curie, does Ms. Smith still reside at the same property? I think it was the Forest Hills Drive in Hapeville. Do they all reside together?
To my understanding, Your Honor, I believe so. Ms. Smith called our office yesterday trying to get representation for Mr. Farrell. At this point, I had not received the police report or the warrants to figure out the extent of the case. But I do understand, I do note that she does want contact.
Well, I understand she wants contact. Unfortunately, that's not something that's up to her at this juncture, unless I hear from her. The bond on the battery matter is going to be $2,000. On each count of the cruelty matter is $500. That's a $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Terry Smith, and to stay away from 3227 Forest Hill Drive in Hapeville, Georgia. He may return to the property one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings and then update the court with his new address. In the alternative, he may return to the property with an officer to verify that Ms. Smith does not reside there any longer, and then he can return to the property. Under no circumstances is he and Ms. Smith to be occupying the same property, and he is to stay 200 yards away from her until further order of the court. He is not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and he's not to possess or use any firearms or weapons. I understand from the warrant that a firearm was surrendered to the authorities, but if he owns any further firearms, they have to be surrendered to the authorities for destruction. His next court date is going to be August 10th. If he does make bond, he will not have to come back to the August 10th date, but he must maintain a current address and phone number with us at all times.
Yes, Your Honor. And just for the record, Your Honor, I believe that address is his home, not hers.
Have they been residing together?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so then you understand the concept of a dispossessory.
Yes, Your Honor, I understand.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes my business, Your Honor. May I be excused?
Yeah, thank you. Next case, please.
Craig. Position 3, Craig.
I have a Spanish interpreter. Is this for my case with Caroline Cruz or someone else?
Actually, I ordered for Miss Linda Lewis. When I called her, she said she didn't speak any English and she needed a translator. So we didn't want to have any kind of issues. So we made sure that we had a translator, but now her victim advocate says that she's fluent in English. So
May I release the interpreter? Ms. Kim?
yes, please, unless there's anybody else.
All right.
who needs-
Miss Linda Lewis, can you hear me?
It depends on which one you're calling, Your Honor. I'm not Spanish.
Okay. Is there another Linda Lewis on the Zoom?
Yes. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't see another
Yes.
Linda Lewis.
I'm Linda Lewis, but I'm there for another person.
Okay, thank you. You can mute your screen, please.
All right, thank you.
Madam Interpreter, Ms. Chauncey, can you call out for a Linda Lewis who is only conversant in Spanish?
Señora Linda Lewis, ¿está presente? Linda Lewis, ¿está presente?
All right, we've sound out for the person, Ms. Kim. Unless there's any objection, I'm going to release Ms. Chauncey.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank
All right,
you.
Ms. Chauncey, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bye-bye. Courtroom 2, who do we have for the seat, please?
Position 3, Craig.
Thank you. This is Keisha LaShawn Craig, accused of battery domestic violence from a July 27th, 2023 incident. Ms. Craig, your case number is 23 CR 4643. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Kelly Wills. And I understand that this is
Third arrest.
third arrest, correct?
Last was 08 forgery.
Mhm.
In 08, she got probation. Well, in 2009, it was 12 years confined and then 5 years probation for ag assault on robbery.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. Just quickly, this incident occurred this morning at 3200 Stone Road. And this is where Miss Monicia Smith advised officers that when she came home from work, the defendant greeted her with disrespect and accused her of cheating. Miss Smith explained that the defendant called and texted her while she was working, asking where she was. Miss Smith also explained that because she knew that this would escalate between her and the defendant, she immediately packed some clothes and she was trying to leave the residence, but the defendant took her phone and her keys. And as Miss Smith was trying to get them back, the defendant hit her in the face, causing her to have a black eye. And so Miss Smith told officers that that after she was hit, she grabbed some bleach and she told the defendant, if you don't let me leave, I'm gonna throw the bleach on you. And eventually she was able to get out of the house. Ms. Smith also told officers that while they were fighting, the defendant grabbed her hair and pinned her down to the bed. And so she bit the defendant in an effort to gain freedom from the defendant, pinning her down. Our office was able to speak to Ms. Smith. She let us know that they're no longer in a relationship, but she does live at the incident location, and she confirmed the events listed in the warrant. She let us know, she confirmed that she stated that she sustained a black eye, and she said that this is the first time that the defendant has been violent with her. She also let us know that she would like for the defendant to leave the residence, and she does not want any contact with her. So for these reasons, the state's recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond, 1-day anger awareness course, no further contact with Ms. Smith, to stay away from 3200 Stone Road, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. And if Ms. Smith is on Zoom, I'd like to sound for her.
All right, Ms. Monicia Smith. Okay, Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Judge. My client is 35 years old. She is a native of Atlanta. She is a delivery driver for Amazon, and she's been employed there for the past 2 years. She will not qualify to be represented by the Public Defender's Office. She has a welding certificate as well as a GED. She has one child. She does deny the allegations as alleged. She states that she is the one who actually called the police as well as EMS after the situation had escalated into violence. She states that the alleged victim bit her and hit her, and that she never made physical contact with the alleged victim. My client was actually injured as a result of the attack. She stated that she and Ms. Smith have argued before, but this is the first time that things have become. She has no objection to no further contact with Ms. Smith, and she also will be vacating the residence. Her history is very remote, 2008. I would request a signature bond. My client actually has a shift to work tonight, or was supposed to be scheduled to work today at Amazon, and she is very eager to be released so that she can resume her employment. I would also request a one-time law enforcement escort for her to pick up her belongings from Ms. Smith in her home.
Bond is set at $3,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Monicia Smith, and to stay away from 3200, I think it's Stone Road in Atlanta, Georgia. She may return to the location one time only with a police officer or law enforcement to retrieve her belongings, and that visit cannot exceed 1 hour. She's not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and not possess or own any weapons or firearms. She will attend and complete a one-day anger awareness with the pretrial program. She's to report to pretrial every month. And if she gets arrested again or she violates any of the conditions, the $3,500 signature bond will be converted to a surety bond or a cash bond. 200 yards away from Ms. Smith, and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, including in person, through a phone, or through any kind of computer device or social media. Thank you. Oh, and she's and she's to update us with her new address within 30 days of being released. Release normally takes about 24 hours, so the likelihood of reaching her next shift is not very good. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Position number 4.
Okay. Do we have a co-defendant on this calendar, or has that been previously addressed?
No, it's on this one, Your Honor. It's position 14.
And as I say that Ms.
The co-defendant has a paid lawyer, but that person hadn't logged on yet.
Luis Rodriguez, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said he has a what lawyer? A conflict?
A paid lawyer.
A hired attorney. Okay. And okay, we'll take that up. All right, we have Carolina Cruz, who is 23 CR 4644E, accused of 2 counts of battery from a July 26, 2023 incident. And then we have Mr. Rodriguez. Is he present in the courtroom?
Yes, he is.
His attorney is not present.
It's not. Who is it?
Lauren Brown.
Okay. All right, Mr. Rodriguez, we will address your case when your attorney shows up on Zoom or at the jail. So just with regards to Ms. Cruz, she's accused of 2 counts of battery. Ms. Cruz, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney will be Ms. Wills. I understand this is a second arrest. What's the first one?
2022 battery theft by taking.
Out of which jurisdiction?
I didn't write it down.
I'm sorry?
I didn't write it down. I didn't put it in my notes.
All right, Ms. Bickerstaff, do you know her prior case?
I can look it up for you. Just give me 1 second, Your Honor. I'll go to it. The prior arrest was in Gwinnett County.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a Gwinnett case for battery and theft by taking.
Yes.
All right, and okay. And I've read the warrant, so looks like an incident at valet parking.
Yes, Your Honor. Our office was able to speak with Ms. Quay, Ms. Akfor Quay, one of the victims in the case. Was 2 victims, Ms. Akfor Quay and Mr. Derek Matthews. We were able to speak with actually both of them, and Ms. Quay stated that defendant Rodriguez and the valet were fighting on her car. And so she got out of the car to check for damages. And so Ms. Quay stated that the defendant here, Miss Carolina Cruz, began to antagonize her for checking her car. And she let us know that she stated that Mr. Rodriguez became aggressive with her and Mr. Matthews and stepped in. And that's when Mr. Luis Rodriguez attacked Mr. Matthews. She let us know that both her, Ms. Quay, and Mr. Matthews had cuts and bruises all over their face and body. She also let us know that Mr. Matthews has his face was swollen and his eye was swollen, and he sustained a bloody nose due to the attack between the defendant, Cruz, and Rodriguez. She also let us know they both said that they do not want any contact with Cruz or Rodriguez, Your Honor. Just to put a couple facts on the record, this incident occurred 2 days ago, July 26th of this year at 3131 Piedmont Road. And this is where the employee, Joel Stein, told officers that the defendant and defendant Rodriguez were becoming agitated for waiting on their car from the valet. And so that's when Rodriguez started looking in the valet box for his keys. And when he was told to get out of the box, he punched Mr. Stein. And then Mr. Stein punched him back in defense. That is when the attack with Miss Quay and everything happened, Your Honor. So for these reasons, the state's recommendation for the defendant Cruz is a $5,000 surety bond, $2,500 for each of the battery charges, 1 day anger awareness course, no further contact with Ms. Quay, Mr. Matthews, or Mr. Stein, and to stay away from 3131 Piedmont Road, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. And if Ms. Quay or Mr. Matthews or Mr. Stein is on Zoom, I'd like to sound for them.
I have an AQ, which is possibility Ms. Quay. If she wants to address the court, she has to start a video and unmute. All right, good afternoon. My name is Judge Law. What's your name, please?
My name is Apika Quay.
And Ms. Quay, did you want to address this case, or would you just like the prosecutor to speak on your behalf?
Yeah, she can speak on my behalf.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Quay. You may mute your screen. I don't see a Mr. Matthews on there, so we'll proceed to Ms. Wills.
Thank you, Judge. My client is 23 years old. She is a native of Atlanta. She is currently employed at Ibiza Lounge. She will not qualify to be represented by the Public Defender's Office. She is currently attending school to receive her high school diploma. She denies the allegations as alleged. She states that Mr. Rodriguez was being jumped by two individuals. She jumped in to attempt to pull one of them off of him. He was on the ground and they were kicking and punching him. And that's when one of the alleged victims or complaining witnesses swung on her. So in light of that, I would request a signature on bond. This was a random event between unknown parties or parties that don't have any prior relationships. So there is no objection to no further contact. If Your Honor would order that she is not allowed to return to the property, I would ask for a one-time law enforcement escort. She states that her vehicle may still be at the premises and she's trying to ascertain where her vehicle is. But I would request a signature bond.
Okay. On each count is $1,500. The total bond is $3,000. That's a surety bond. No contact with Joel Stein, no contact with Aforker Quay, and no contact with Derek Matthews. To stay away from 3131 Piedmont Road in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know what's that location. Is it a club, a bar, a restaurant? What is it? Does anybody know?
I'm doing a Google. Let me Google it really quickly.
Okay. Well, whatever that business facility is there, she has to stay 200 yards away. She's allowed a one-time visit with a police officer to retrieve her vehicle if it is still there. If the business folks there indicate that the vehicle is not there, she has to leave without any breach of peace. All right. you are not allowed to go walking around to find your car. Do you understand, Ms. Cruz?
Yes.
All right. I understand that you won't qualify for the public defender's office, so once you are released on bond, you have to retain your own counsel. Your next court date presently is August 10th at 9 a.m. If you make bond, then you do not need to appear at August 10th, but you need to make sure that your address and contact information are current with us so that you'll get your next court date. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms to be possessed by you. Thank you.
Can we do petition number 12 next, Ms. McNabb?
Okay.
Ms. Hill?
Aisha McNabb is case number 23 CR 4650A. Ms. McNabb is accused of battery and 1 count of cruelty in the 3rd degree. This is from a January 15th, 2023 incident. Ms. McNabb, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Maxwell.
It's a 10th arrest. She's on 2 different probations for ag assault and on probation in Hall County for forgery in the 1st degree.
Okay. Mr. Pillon, what is your bond recommendation for Ms. McNabb?
Yes, Judge, in this matter, officers responded to a battery on juvenile call. And when they arrived, the victim told them that an adult came out of a nearby residence and attacked her and observed fresh cuts on the juvenile. Judge, those facts combined with the recent ag assault, I showed that the conviction on the ag assault was in 2022, 2 counts. We're asking for a $4,000 surety bond. Would be a $1,000 on the first count, $3,000 on the second count. No further contact. The stay away location, I believe, is the defendant's address. It is not the victim's address, so I don't think that's appropriate.
All right, Ms. Maxwell.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. McNabb is currently 7 months pregnant with a baby boy. She has a daughter, London, who's 6. She's a lifelong resident of Atlanta and lives with her aunt. We would ask that she be allowed a signature bond, as she is currently a bit medically fragile. This is a high-risk pregnancy. Also, there shouldn't be any issue staying away from the alleged victim. That shouldn't be any problem.
On the cruelty matter, it's going to be 500. On the battery, it's going to be 1,000. The total bond is going to be set at 1,500. That's a surety bond. Unfortunately, with Ms. McNabb's 2 open cases, the probation and the recent conviction does not qualify her for a signature bond. She's to stay 200 yards away from Arnita Smalls and the alleged victim WK. And no alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. The next court date is going to be August 10th. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Petition number 5, move on.
This is Abby Duval, accused of battery, domestic violence from July 27, 2023. I have, is there a Stephen Davis?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here on Zoom.
All right. And is there a co-defendant as well?
Yes, Your Honor. Her last name is Kucher. It's my understanding that Ms. McLeod is unavailable and no conflict attorney has been identified. Our office will be conflicting out of Ms. Kucher's case.
Okay. Rose Kucher is also in the courtroom. Okay, she needs to come forward, either stand behind the present defendant. All right, Miss Abby Duval and Miss Rose Kuchar, position number 11. Both of you have been accused of battery, domestic violence. Miss Duval's case is 23 CR 4638J. And Miss Kuchar, your case number is 23 CR 4642J. The incident date is July 27, 2023. You've both been advised of your right to remain silent. Ms. Duval, your attorney presently is going to be with the Public Defender's Office, and counsel is Ms. Kelly Wills. Ms. Kuchar, you will have to be appointed a conflict defense attorney since you can't be represented by the same office as Ms. Duval. And your conflict defense attorney would have to be someone that we will appoint. Presently, we think it may be Maureen McLeod, but I'm not absolutely certain. But in the meantime, I'd like you to remember your right to remain silent, and we will proceed with the question of bond. I understand that Ms. Duval has, this is a second arrest. I see one from Cobb County. Mr. Howard, do you know anything about it?
It appears to be an open ag assault out of Cobb.
And that was 2019?
It wasn't on it was out of Cobb, but all of that was expunged and dropped.
So the case is dismissed?
Yes, and dropped.
That's not what I show, Your Honor.
Yeah, me.
I show that it's, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Judge. My notes show that it is an open ag assault family violence battery charge in Cobb County out of February 2021.
If
And I have
you
a case
contact
number.
Mid Sessions and the superior, okay, sorry. It's just that's.
I'm sorry? Okay, so it's an open case.
That's what my records show, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Duval, you do have a right to remain silent. And right now I have my pretrial officer and the prosecutors who have access to your criminal history record on file. And it says there's an open pending case. That's what we have. Do you have an attorney representing you in Cobb County? Your thing is on mute, so. Do you have an attorney representing you in
It
Cobb
was
County?
in Sessions. That case was already dropped. I have paper documentation showing that it was dropped. I know when y'all's in, it's not showing that. So if y'all would like to reach out to him.
So your attorney is Ben Sessions. All right. So Ms. Wills.
For that case was dropped though in February, March of 2021. It was, they completely dropped it. I don't know if it wasn't updated in the system or not, or if y'all would like to reach out to Cobb County Superior Courts, but I have an affidavit stamping it's stamped and everything, stating that everything was dropped and I no longer have any charges against it for that case.
All right, let's talk about this case then. Mr. Pellon, I understand this is involving Mr. Davis from Alpharetta, who's on the Zoom. What's the bond recommendation for Ms. Duval and Ms. Kuchar?
Yes, Judge. In this matter, Mr. Davis, defendant Kuchar, and defendant Duval all live in the same location. It's my understanding that Mr. Davis was trying to break up a fight between the two, and at some point, I guess they both started attacking Mr. Davis. Defendant Duval jumped on Davis's back. Defendant Kuchar admitted to slapping him during an argument, and the victim had deep enough scratches that the officer was able to observe broken skin when he arrived. If you give me just a minute, this is hard to piece apart sometimes. It is my understanding that the victim states that he would like both to return to the residence, but obviously, given that they all reside together, we are concerned about that. And we're concerned about, again, what we show as an open ag assault. So for Ms. Duval, our recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond, stay away from the address, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and no further contact with the victim, Stephen Davis. For defendant Kuchar, who, Judge, my understanding is in a relationship with the victim, we're asking a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no further violent contact with Mr. Davis.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wilk, if you'd like to address, I understand this is Ms. Kuchar's first arrest. Well, let's hear from Mr. Davis first. Mr. Davis, would you like to chime in, or would you like the prosecutor to speak for you?
I'd be happy to chime in, Your Honor, and
All
I'm
right,
very embarrassed.
I'm going to place you under oath.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you solemnly raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Who owns the property at Tenor Lane?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, so you're the homeowner.
Yes.
And how do you know Ms. Kuchar?
She is my domestic partner. I would consider her my wife and stepmom to my children and my very close. I just haven't married her yet, but she is my partner.
All right. And Ms. Duval, how do you know her?
Miss Duval is a friend that we have met, and we consider her part of our family.
All right. And what would you like to tell me in terms of contact or them coming back to Tenor Lane?
I feel safe that they are welcomed here. We had an evening that I'm embarrassed about, and I'm sure they both are. I'm 50 years old. I'm a business owner, and I work with both of them, and things got a little bit out of control one evening, and I'm very sorry that it happened the way it did, and I wish I could take it all back, but I'm here to support both of them.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wills, any comment about Ms. Duval?
Yes, Your Honor, and I understand the court's concern with my client's potential open case. If that's going to have a bearing on her bond, I would like the opportunity, if I could, speak with Mr. Sessions to confirm. I've tried to look in the Cobb County records and I couldn't confirm that information. But my client is 24 years old. She is a native of Atlanta. She is currently employed by Active Links as a freelance contracting. Well, she does freelance contracting in low voltage field operations. She has 3 degrees from the University of Georgia, from UGA, in accounting, fashion merchandising, product development, and design. Mr. Davis, as he stated, is a close family friend of Ms. Duval. She does deny the allegations as alleged. She states that when law enforcement arrived, because she did not want to provide a statement, they arrested her because of that. My client also, today is the anniversary of the death of her father. I would like the court to take that in consideration. I also would ask for her to have a signature bond. And if there's going to be no further contact, I would ask that she be allowed to have a one-time law enforcement escort to Mr. Davis's home to gather any of her property that she may have there. But I would ask that they be allowed to have no further violent contact per Mr. Davis's request.
Both Ms. Kuchar and Ms. Duval have a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Ms. Duval, this is going to apply to you right now. After today, you are to have no further contact with Rose Kuchar and with Stephen Davis. You're also to stay away from 2285 Tenor Lane in Alpharetta, Georgia. Within 30 days of being released on your signature bond, you are to update the court with your new address and contact information. You're not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and you're not to own or possess any firearms. Within 60 days of being released from jail, you are to enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. That's a 24-week program for classes that you will pay. You must show proof of such enrollment to pretrial by your 3rd visit. And if you have not enrolled in such a program, that would be grounds to revoke your signature bond and grant you a surety bond. You are allowed to return to the Tenor Lane location one time only with a police officer to retrieve your personal belongings. And then make sure you update us with your new address within 30 days of being released from bond. With regards to Ms. Kuchar, you are to have no further contact, and also you're to have no further violent contact. I'm sorry, this is going back to Ms. Duval. No further violent contact with Stephen Davis. I don't know whether she'll be dealing with him in the work environment, but there cannot be any violent contact with Stephen Davis, but definitely no contact with Rose Kuchar. All right, Ms. Kuchar, your bond is $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. After today, you're to have no further contact with Ms. Abby Duvall and no violent contact with Stephen Davis. You may return to the Tenor Lane location, and within 60 days of being released, you are to enroll in a 24-week domestic violence program. You must show proof of that enrollment to pretrial by your third visit. Those classes must be attended continuously until they're completed, and then you present your certificate to the pretrial services. No alcohol, no drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. So, Mr. Davis, if you own any firearms, you can either keep your gun or keep Ms. Kuchar. All right? Otherwise, all firearms must be removed from the property and either kept in another alternative safe location or surrendered to the authorities for destruction.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor, I apologize. Miss Duvall actually wanted to have a surety bond. She was told that would be a quicker process for her to be released.
Having her on I want her to complete the domestic violence program, so she's going to be on a signature bond through pretrial.
So I'm not gonna be able to leave.
You have a signature bond through pretrial services. You'll be reporting to pretrial once a month, and you will start the classes within 60 days of being released. If you don't report to pretrial every month, you will run the risk of your signature bond being converted to either a $3,000 cash bond or a surety bond. And while you're released, you might want to go to Cobb County and verify the status of your felony case. Thank you, folks.
Both of those will be purchased.
Yes, sir. Next case, please, courtroom 2.
Position 16, Simmons.
Who was Mr. Lauren Brown representing?
Mr. Rodriguez.
Hi, good afternoon, Judge.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm
Luis
sorry.
I'm here for Luis Rodriguez Samano.
All right, we'll take that up next. Who do I have presently in the chair?
Number 16, Simmons.
All right, thank you. Yes, this is Kenlisha Simmons, accused of theft by taking from April 13th, 2023. Ms. Simmons, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be, is it going to be Ms. Kim?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. And I understand this is Ms. Simmons' 5th arrest.
Right.
All right. The only thing I see that there was a theft by shoplifting from 2017 and a probation violation, but other than that, Mr.
And the 06 assault conviction. That's
Okay,
it.
I meant something recent.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right. And Mr. Pallone, what's the state's recommendation for Ms. Simmons?
Yes, Judge, and I don't know if this fits your definition of recent. I showed a 2015 larceny out of North Carolina.
No, I didn't see that. No. Okay.
I didn't see that either. My bad.
Judge, in this case, the victim went to work with money in his backpack. When he returned home, some of the money was missing, and the only person that the victim worked with was the defendant. When officers confronted the defendant, she admitted to taking the money. Given those facts, in light of the other convictions, we're asking that you maintain the $1,000 surety bond that's been affected. No further contact with the victim, whose name is Craig Sims, and a stay away from the incident location. I would like to sound for Mr. Sims. I haven't been notified that he'll be on here.
Craig Sims, I don't see anyone with the initials or that name. So, all right. Ms. Monicia Smith, I think we've already addressed your case, so you're free to go. All right. So, Ms. Kim, I'm sorry, Mr. Pallon, what was, you're going to say $1,000 surety?
Yes, Judge, that's what's currently assigned.
It's on a different case. I'm sorry to interrupt. Miss Smith is a victim on another case that has not yet been heard.
Oh, I see. Okay, go ahead. What I do. Okay, anyways, Ms. Kim, what's your recommendation?
I would like to recommend for signature on bond, Your Honor. Other cases are remote, and Your Honor, she says that she was a victim of a sexual harassment for that person who's claiming as a complaining witness, and that kind of could cause a lot of drama and false accusation. My client is 38 years old, and she has 4 children, and 2 of them are minors. She has 2 jobs. She works as a cook at Georgia State University, and also she has a catering business on the side to make a living for herself as a single mom with 4 children. She graduated from high school, and she also did Job Corp. She did a vocational trade for culinary arts. We would like to request for signature on bond. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Bond is set at $2,000. That's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. She's to have no further contact with Craig Sims and to stay away from all GSU property. She is to make sure that we have her current address and phone number at all times, no illegal drugs and no weapons and firearms. Her next court date will be sent to her current address, so she'll may have to make sure that we have her current address. All right, thank you. Ms. Wills, yes, sir. Ms. Wills, we addressed position number 3, Keisha Craig, who received a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial.
You are correct, Your Honor. I was thinking, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I just wanted to make sure I can release Ms. Monicia Smith. Okay, thank you. All right, back to position 14, I believe, and that was Mr. Luis Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez has also got 1 count of battery, 1 count of simple battery from the July 26, 2023 incident. Was that a co-defendant with Carolina Cruz? So Mr. Rodriguez's attorney is Mr. Lauren Brown, and he's been advised of his right to remain silent. Okay, Mr. Toussaint, okay, I understand this is his 6th arrest, and he's got a open case with or is it a probation case? The terroristic threats?
Interference with government property, that's open. I mean, that's probated.
Okay.
There's an open criminal damage to property 2nd degree trespass, 23 CP 218675.
That was the recent case. Okay, I remember
And
that.
the 2020 simple battery DV trespass. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Ms. Bickerstaff? Yes, we've already gone through the alleged facts. So what's your bond recommendation?
Yes, just quickly, I'm seeing an open case in Henry County with the defendant for battery, family violence, and false imprisonment. I called the Henry County DA's office, and they're supposed to be emailing me back about details on that, but it was a $12,500 surety bond on that case. But the state's recommendation for this case is a $6,000 surety bond, $3,000 for each of the battery charges, 1-day anger awareness course, no further contact with Mr. Stein, Mr. Matthews, or Miss Quay to stay away from 3131 Piedmont Road, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Is it Mr. Sperling or Mr. Brown? You got Sperling.
It's Mr. Brown, Judge. Good
Okay.
afternoon. So I just was contacted about appearing today because of the conflict, I guess, that arose with a co-defendant, Judge, and I do represent Mr. Rodriguez on the pending case in Henry County. That's how they were able to get in touch with me. The details of that, Judge, that's a very weak case for the state. I know we're not here to try it, but that's why he was given a very low bond in that jurisdiction for that particular charges. Luis is a U.S. citizen, Judge. He resides in the Atlanta metro area. He's a father of 1 child who I believe is under the age of 2 still. I have no issue with any of the conditions proposed by the state, Judge. I'd ask for you to consider setting a total bond in the amount of $3,000 surety, that being $1,500 on each charge. You didn't hear of any criminal histories, FTAs, things of that nature, Judge. So I think that would be appropriate given the charges.
1 second, please. All right, so this incident was on July 26. He's got an open felony case in Fulton County Superior Court from a May 20th, 2023 incident. When was the incident date for the Henry County matter?
It had to be at the beginning of May, Judge, or the end of April.
So then 20 days later, he's got arrested for a
I can't speak on that, Judge. I'm not aware of that case and have not filed into anything involving it at this time.
all right. On the battery case is going to be 3,000. On the simple battery is 1,500. Total bond is 4,500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is going to be August 10th, and that's also a Zoom proceeding. That's a state all-purpose, for want of better phrases, plea and arraignment calendar,
Sure.
and that's also via Zoom. $4,500 surety bond, no further contact with, I beg pardon. There were 3 alleged victims at the location: Joel Stein, Fokor Quay, and Derek Matthews. To stay away from 3131 Piedmont Road in Atlanta, Georgia. I've already given Miss Cruz the right to go back there one time only to retrieve the vehicles, so I don't believe Mr. Rodriguez needs a one-time visit. So he's completely banned from that location. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And his next, as I said, his next court date is August 10th. Thank you.
Understood, Judge. Thank you.
Mhm.
Position 17.
Do we have an add-on this calendar?
Yes, we did, but it's my understanding that that add-on bonded out.
Okay, all right, thank you. Position 17, Ms. Jacqueline Taylor is accused of simple assault, domestic violence from July 27th of this year, case number 23 CR 4654J. Ms. Taylor, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. And I understand this is her first arrest. Mr. Pellon, any recommendation on a simple assault?
Yes, Judge, the facts are that the victim stated that the defendant threatened the victim with a broken piece of glass. In light of the arrest history, we're asking for a $2,000 signature on bond, stay away from the location, and no further contact with the victim.
All right. And Ms. Kim, are we going to go with that?
Yes.
All right. And is there a stay away from the location as well, or just the contact?
Yes, Judge, we would like a stay away. Do you have that address?
I'll probably get it, but right now it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Jerry Jarvis Parish.
That's correct, Judge.
Okay.
Your Honor, can she have a one-time law enforcement officer escorted visit to retrieve her personal belongings?
Yeah, give me a minute. I just have to find, is the location the 1155 La Vista Road?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. She's to stay away from that location, but she can have a one-time visit with a law enforcement officer to retrieve her personal belongings. That visit cannot exceed 1 hour. While she's reporting to pretrial, she will attend and complete a one-day anger awareness program with pretrial services. No illegal drugs and no alcohol to be consumed, and she's not to possess a firearm or weapons of any kind. Ms. Taylor, once you are released on bond, you have 30 days to update the clerk of court with your new address so that you don't miss out on your future court appearances. Do you understand?
Yes, and can I just say something?
Please,
right.
I would strongly recommend not to say anything. You have a right to remain silent. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Next case, courtroom 2.
Position 6.
Miss Linda Lewis, which case are you waiting on?
Rodriguez Seabrooks.
Okay. This is Mikey Allen, ELIEN, case number 23 CR 4647F. Mr. Allen is accused of battery, cruelty in the 3rd degree, and criminal trespass causing damage to property. from July 27, 2023. Mr. Elian, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Will. Is it Miss Wills? Yeah. And I understand this is Mr. Ellen's. Yeah, that was his first arrest as well. So, Ms. Bickerstaff, I read the warrant about things not winding up well after a day of working DoorDash. So what's the bond recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor, just quickly for the record, just to put a few facts on the record. The incident occurred yesterday at 2600 Old Hateville Road. And this is where officers spoke to the defendant's wife, Mrs. Elian, who explained that she and her husband had been in the car together all day. They were doing DoorDash, like you mentioned. And she explained that the defendant got upset because of a possible affair in their marriage. And so he started driving fast down the expressway. And Miss Elian told officers while he was driving fast, the defendant started to push her in the car, causing her to have 2 lacerations on her wrist. While this altercation was happening, 5-month-old M.E. was in the backseat of the car. Your Honor, the defendant also threw Mrs. Elian's phone out of the car's window. So for these reasons, the state's recommendation is a $5,000 surety bond, $3,000 for the battery, and then $1,000 each for the remaining 2 charges. We're asking for no further contact with Mrs. Elian and to no stay away, Your Honor, because that is just the location where Miss Elian called the police, but we're asking for a stay away at the home address. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. And if Mrs. Elian is on Zoom, I would like to sound for her.
Miss Destiny Elian? All right, Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Your Honor. My client denies the allegations as alleged. He is actually the one who called the police after the incident occurred. He states that Miss Elian attacked him in the car as he was driving. The window was down. She attempted to throw her phone at him, and it ended up going out of the window. My client drove to his mother's home after the situation had escalated for safety reasons, and then called the police thereafter. He and Miss Elian, he intends to file for a divorce after this incident, and so he does not desire to have any contact with her at this time. We would request a third-party transfer of their children. They do have 3 children together, as well as a one-time law enforcement escort, if Your Honor would not allow him to return to the marital home. My client does state that he does have somewhere else where he can go to live, and we'll update the court with his address upon moving. In light of this being my client's first arrest, I would request a signature bond.
On the battery is 2,500. On the remaining 2 charges is 500 each. That's a total of 3,500 signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Destinus Elian. Ms. Bridgewater, do you have the spelling of her name? It's got a lot of consonants and very few vowels.
Your Honor, it's D.
I read the warrant. I saw the spelling on the warrant.
Yes, okay, good. Thank you. So no further contact with Destinus Elian, which means he has to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. He's also to stay away from the marital home. So within 30 days of being released, he must update us with his new address. He can return to the marital home one time only to retrieve his personal belonging, and that must be in the company of a police officer. I'll allow for third-party transfer of all minor children that he shares with Mrs. Elian. Therefore, any visitation and exchange must be done through a third party. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. And his next court date will be set to his new address. He's to report to pretrial once a month and complete a 1-day anger awareness program. Thank you.
How much was that?
3,500 total.
All right. Holly, anybody going through pretrial today, all on per judges.
Got
Nobody. Okay.
Next case, please.
Position 2.
This is Mr. Shemaine Kofi, 23 CR 00469, 4649F.
Yes, ma'am.
Kofi, you've been accused of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer and disorderly conduct from a July 26, 2023 incident. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Wills. I understand this is, I don't want to, this is.
28th arrest.
Okay, I was going to say 15th, but that was somebody else. Okay. So
Last
28th
arrest,
arrest, yes.
last arrest was in May. Criminal damage to property, 2nd degree, and trespass. Got probation for terrorist threats, interference with government property. That's 20. This is number 2, right?
Number 2, yes. Kofi.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on for a minute.
I see a probation case for 20 SC 17413. And I do see an open case as well.
Yeah. And ag assault convictions and terrorist threats convictions in the history. State, you got the same thing?
Yes, I do.
I do see the 2017 case as well as the 2014 case.
Okay. So you good.
Anything else?
Not really.
All right. Ms. Bickerstaff, what's the bond recommendation for Mr. Copeland?
Yes, Your Honor. The open case, really quickly, the open case for criminal trespass and criminal damage, would you like a case number for that?
I've got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Just quickly, Your Honor, this incident occurred 2 days ago, July 26th of this year at 880 Rose Circle. And this is where officers received a call from Miss Denise Brown that the defendant, who is the defendant's cousin, she told officers that the defendant was kicking and knocking on the door. And she feared for her safety and the safety of the others that were in the home, Your Honor. Officers noted that earlier that day they made contact with the defendant. He was in the road, but officers then received another call stating that the defendant continued that same disruptive behavior in the Rose Circle neighborhood, Your Honor. Officers noted that the defendant was under the influence at the time, and while officers were attempting to detain the defendant, he resisted arrest. So for these reasons, the state's recommendation is a $2,000 surety bond, $1,000 on each charge, an ADET, no further contact with Miss Denise Brown, and to stay away from the 880 Rose Circle address, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Judge. My client is 46 years old. He is a native of Atlanta. He is currently, unemployed. However, he intends to begin working this upcoming Monday with through a temp service, Trojan High Quest. He regrets what happened. He does suffer from PTSD, as well as chronic back issues. He currently has a caseworker who works with him through Mercy Care, where they provide medical treatment as well as housing assistance for Mr. Kofi. He stated that I did ask him about substance abuse issues, and he does deny having any issues with substance abuse. He stated that he was just having a bad day that day, but he does deny the allegations and would like to preserve his rights to fight these charges at a later date. I would request a signature on bond. He does use this 880 address as a mailing address, which is his mother's home. So I would like for him to be able to at least go there to retrieve his mail so that he can receive notices. His housing is somewhat unstable at this time, but as I stated, he is currently working with an organization to assist him with housing.
All right. I'm going to go with the state's recommendations, $1,000 on each count, $2,000 surety bond, no contact with Denise Brown, stay away from 880 Rose Circle in Atlanta, Georgia. He'll need to find an alternative address to either reside and or to use as his mailing address. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. Next court date is going to be August 10. Thank you.
God bless your heart, y'all. Thank you.
Position 7.
I just asked for a breakout room for this position.
Well, can we go to position number 18 and do him last thing?
At 18 was also a breakout request, is that correct?
Yes, Your
That's
Honor.
correct, Judge.
What about?
Courtroom 2 is position 15 available, Rodriguez Seabrooks?
He waived.
He waived, okay. Let's go ahead and address that. Rodriguez Seabrooks is 23 CR 004-652J, accused of battery, domestic violence, and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. And this is from a July 26, 2023 incident. Who's representing him? Ms. Kim?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right, and Ms. Kim, you have waived his appearance for this case, for this
Yes,
proceeding?
I'll send out the form as soon as I can.
All right, so with regards to Mr. Seabrooks, he's got, all right, this will be his 50th arrest. And and he's charged with battery, family violence, and willful obstruction. Mr. Pallon, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. In this matter, the defendant tried to force his way into the victim's home, began punching her in the head and threw her against a glass cabinet. Judge, this defendant also has an open ag assault case against the same victim. And in that case is accused of choking the victim until she blacked out while shouting, "I hate you." For those reasons, Judge, we're asking for a $5,000 surety bond, $4,000 on the first count, $1,000 on the second count, a stay away from the incident location, which is 516 Magnolia Street, Northwest, and no further contact with the victim. Judge, this is Miss Linda Lewis's case.
Understood. Ms. Lewis, did you have a comment or would you like the prosecutor to speak?
Yes, Your Honor. Can you hear me?
Yes, may I place you under oath?
Yes, you may, Your Honor. My hand is up.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right. And how do you know Seabrooks, Mr. Rodriguez Seabrooks?
I met him last year, September 2022, right before my birthday. We had a relationship 2 or 3 months into the relationship. Mr. Rodriguez,
So in that regard, may the defense attorney then chime in?
Yes, Your Honor.
What does that mean, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yes.
I heard your position and I'm only going to limit your testimony to the decision I have to make today.
Okay.
So I appreciate your input, but I'll hear from the defense attorney now, okay?
All right. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes,
Ms.
Your
Kim?
Honor. Yes, Mr. Seabrooks is 48 years old. He was born and raised here in Georgia. And last 5 years, he has had 3 CBD shops. So he's not qualified for public defender's services. And he graduated from high school. He also has a bachelor's degree for
Excuse me, Your Honor. May I please say
management.
something?
Ms. Lewis, please do not interrupt. Thank you.
And yes, we would like to request for signature on bond, and yet, if Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we ask for maximum $1,000 bill bond, and we have no objection to stay away and no further contact at this point. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. On the battery family violence, that's going to be a $4,500 cash bond only. On the willful obstruction, that's going to be a $500 cash bond only. Total bond is $5,000, and that's a cash bond only. He's to have no further contact with Linda Lewis. He's to stay 200 yards away from Miss Lewis, wherever she happens to be. And he's to stay away from the 516 Magnolia Street in Atlanta, Georgia. There will be no one-time visit, none at all. He's to completely stay away from 516 Magnolia Street. And his next court date is going to be August 10th at 9 a.m. via Zoom. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no alcohol. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, who do we have in courtroom 2? Ms. Lewis, best of luck with the TPO and you're free to go. Thank you.
Position number 19, Wilson.
This is Donta Wilson, case number 23 CR 4656Y. Mr. Wilson, you've been accused of 2 misdemeanor offenses. The first one is simple battery, family violence. The second one's a simple battery against a person in a vulnerable situation. This is from a June 16th incident of this year. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Kim. With regards to Mr. Wilson, I understand that his last arrest was in September of 2022. Mr. Halon, do you have any other arrest from outside this jurisdiction?
I don't believe so, Judge. That open 2022 is in our jurisdiction. You see that?
Yes, sir.
That's all I show, Judge.
All right. And what's your bond recommendation for this case?
Judge, because of that open case and the facts as alleged in the warrant, we're asking for a $4,000 surety bond. That'd be $3,000 on the first count, $1,000 on the second count. We're also asking for no further contact. A third-party transfer may become relevant, Judge. It's my understanding that the victim is pregnant, and a stay away is not appropriate as this occurred at a third-party location. I believe it's a gas station. Judge, it's my understanding that the victim is on the call and that she would like contact, but the state is concerned given that open case.
All right. I'm trying to see if this is going to be Sabrina.
That's correct.
Yeah, there she is. All right, Sabrina Dillard. Okay. Miss Dillard, my name is Judge Law, and if you'd like to add to these proceedings, you would have to unmute. Okay. Would you like to say something or?
I mean, what happened was a misunderstanding. Like, I'm not trying.
Let's go back. Let's go back and place you under oath then. If you could you raise your phone so that, yeah, perfect. All right, thank you. Raise your right hand and do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you can put your hand down. All right. Go ahead. You said it was a misunderstanding of some sort?
Yes, it was a misunderstanding. Like, only reason I called the police was just to get my things back from him. He did not touch me. He didn't do anything to me. We don't even stay in the same state. I stay in Tennessee. He stay in Atlanta. So you won't have to worry about the contact visits. I just don't want to see him in jail.
Judge, it's my understanding the defendant has contacted the victim from the jail.
All right. And Miss Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 33 years old, Your Honor. He was born in Tennessee. However, he's been here in Georgia for the last 6 years. Right now, he does work with a DoorDash, but his income is not that high, so he's still qualified for public defender services, Your Honor. Because of the car accident that he had in 2017, he cannot remember anything prior to 2017. He had a memory loss, and because of that, he's got disability on arms, legs. He has a lot of different metal screws in his body, and he really has to take care of his medical needs. He has doctor's appointment lined up. He has to have a knee surgery as well. So we would like to request for a signature on bond so he can get out and take care of his medical needs. We have that this incident happened June 16, 2023. Even after that, they have been together. They have relationship together, and they also have been contacting as well. I don't think it was, my client did not know about other issues, but anyway, we would like to request for a signature on bond. If Your Honor is not inclined to give him a signature on bond, we ask for maximum $1,000 good bond. Thank you.
Bond is set at $1,000, is $500 on each count. It's $1,000 surety bond. No further contact with Miss Sabrina Dillard. As long as they don't live together, that's perfectly fine. No alcohol, no drugs, and no weapons. And his next court date is going to be August 10th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge.
Oh, I'll allow for third-party transfer of child or children that he shares. Okay, thank you. Next case that we have in the courtroom.
The other two cases are the ones that you're gonna do the breakout sessions on, the last two.
So we have two cases in breakout. That the only two you've got left?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so who would like to be in the breakout? This would be a good time to let our host know. Everybody, including Miss Wolf. All right, Miss Champion. It's us all attorneys. That's who's gonna be in the breakout. Right. All right, we are back in the main session, and the first question I'm going. Good heavens, Raymond, will you please sit down and stop grabbing your pants? Good Lord. Okay. Okay, Barbara Walthall, are you present? Barbara Walthall. All right, she's not present. Courtroom 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Position number 1, Brett Henry Barlow. I understand this is going to be a reset for behavior.
Hold on one second. Barlow. Reset.
Position 1, Brett Henry Barlow. This is going to be a behavior reset.
Yes, medical reset.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I can only reset it till tomorrow. And then if the problem continues, then the officers can request another reset. And if he's still being disorderly, then we can reset it to Monday. Any comment? Officer?
Sounds good to me, Your Honor.
All right, so this is reset to July 29th. All right, pending his ability to act appropriately in open court.
Your Honor, I have it as a medical reset. So which is it?
It's going to be a behavior reset.
A behavior. Okay.
Your Honor, honestly, it's probably both because he's detoxing. So
Okay, then let's put it as a medical reset for today. And then tomorrow, if it's not a medical issue, then you let us know.
Gotcha.
All right, tomorrow is going to be Judge Mincy, so please let her know what's the status. All right, so position 1 is reset July 29th. C. Position number 2 is a $2,000 surety bond, reset August 10th. Position number 3, Keisha Craig, is a $3,500 signature bond, further notice. Position 4, Carolina Cruz, is a $3,000 surety bond, reset August 10th. Position 5, Duval, is a $3,000 signature bond. Further notice. And a requirement to do DVIP. Position 6, LEN, is a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial. Further notice. 7, Etwazim, is going to be a $2,000 surety bond, reset date August 10th. Position 8,
Hold on,
Ferguson.
number 7, what's the contact?
No contact with Jonathan Hall.
No further contact.
And stay away from State Bridge, 6005 State Bridge Road.
Thank you.
Position 8, Omitha Ferguson. Any announcements?
I believe she was released, Your Honor.
Okay. Position 9, Farrell, is a $3,000 surety bond, reset August 10th. Position 10, Giorgio Glover. Any announcement? Anyone can tell me? Giorgio Glover released.
Glover, his
not released.
upgraded, as well as Mr. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, his charges were upgraded, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Pellon and Ms. Bickerstaff, have y'all, is this case being transferred? Or has it been
wasn't
transferred?
not my case, Your Honor. I do see in the chat where it says Mr. Glover and Mr. Hill have felony charges, so they will not be present.
Yes, that's what, same. I see that as well. I wasn't, Glover, it was my case, but I was unaware that it got upgraded.
Let me see. Well, okay, so let me just clarify. In my day, when it says upgraded, that means the district attorney's office has accepted this misdemeanor charge and put it with a open pending criminal case, or the prosecution have NOD the willful misdemeanor, and DA's office is going to take the charge as a felony. I see this is still a pending charge. So I'm going to reset this case, position 10, to the C calendar tomorrow. And if the solicitor's office is transferring this case to Superior Court, we need a transfer order, or you can NOD the charge and let the DA's office take it as a felony if it's going to be addressed in an open felony case. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So Miss Hawley, we're going to reset this case pending a transfer to Superior Court or an NOD by the state.
Yes, ma'am, got it.
Thank you. Position 11, Rose Kuchar, is going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. Also to do a DBIP program. Position 12, McNabb, is a $1,500 surety, reset August 10th. Position 13, Outlaw, is a $6,000 surety, reset August 10th. 14, Rodriguez, is a $4,500 surety, reset August 10th. 15, Seabrooks is a $5,000 cash bond. No, excuse me. Yeah,
That's correct.
$5,000 cash bond only,
Mhm.
reset date August 10th. 16, Simmons is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. 17, Taylor is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial per the notice. 18, Walt Hall is a $5,000 surety bond, reset to August 31st at 11 a.m.
What's the contact?
No contact with Barbara Walt Hall. 19, Donta Wilson's $1,000 surety bond, reset August 10th. And the add-on was
Released.
released. I think that
Sorry,
concludes.
Your Honor, but what was position 7 bond amount?
Position
Sounds
7.
good.
Yeah, it was a $2,000 surety bond, reset to August 10th.
Thank you.
2,000 surety. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, officer, thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow. Be safe then.
All right.
All right, everyone. You all have a great Friday. I forgot. Okay.
you, Judge.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.